Lovely.
Walking paradox. The Gnostics, they've got this amazing hot take on the Bible, where essentially Satan is the God of the Old Testament. And I feel that. I can get down with that. All the people in Noah's time, they aren't listening to God, and he's a highly evolved, divine, perfect being, so his solution is to kill everyone. To get some perspective on this, just say you're a parent, and your kid's getting to that really tough age where they're not interested in listening. You know, like 2 years old, and they're just f***ing with everything. They're sticking shit in their mouths and wreaking havoc. And then imagine your solution is, hey babe, this is too hard. Junior's we're just gonna have to kill him and start over. He's not worth it.
Baby changing station, baby hanging station.
Okay, I think there are better solutions out there. The Gnostics call this god the Demiurge. Him and his fallen angels, the Archons, created this god-forsaken planet, and killing people is pretty much their solution to everything. At one point, this infinitely loving god even advocates genocide.
God gave this land to me.
So I can see where the Gnostics are coming from. Well, we didn't escape the Demiurge's go-to solution. Whether any of this is true or not, the metaphor still holds. We're gonna die. But that's not totally the problem. The problem is our attitude towards that fact. We're born into this paradox. Biologically, we're programmed to die, but psychologically, we're inclined to want to try and stay alive. Is it any wonder we're conflicted most of the time? We've got competing interests to contend with, not just outside, but inside ourselves as well. So what's a discerning student of enlightenment to do? I mean, I made all these grand pronouncements last week about how I'm a changed man, and now I'm back to painting this picture of f***ing despair. Well, in these times of great confusion, I've become fascinated with the idea of manhood, which I think is going to serve me well. What does it mean to be a man in the 21st century? Is it just a dated concept that's outlived its usefulness? Or is there something of value still to be had there? As I muse on these kinds of things, I come to truly appreciate some of the old wisdom traditions. Now, I'm not advocating for traditional gender roles, although I do love me a good sandwich, especially when someone else makes it. Oh yeah, incidentally, my last video was about my girlfriend dumping me. Coincidence or destiny? All I'm saying is that the ancients had some ideas that are worth keeping. For example, there's these archetypal templates that I'd like to model, and that I think would help with our little conundrum, namely death. I've been reading King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. Let's borrow the warrior archetype for this one. So, how do we deal with the fact that we've got contradictory genetic programming? Super Samurai Musashi, undefeated in 61 duels, had this to say: "The way of the warrior is resolute acceptance of death." That's it in a nutshell. We've just got to come to terms with reality. One step towards progress is making peace with where you really are. But we can go further. We're creatures of action after all. In Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F***, he shares the story of William James. William was on Struggle Street. He had failed at everything that he had ever tried, and was just about ready to nick himself. But instead, he decided to undertake a bold experiment. In his diary, he wrote that he'd spend 1 year believing that he was 100% responsible for everything that occurred in his life, no matter what.
That's me, baby. That's me. I did that.
If the year ended and nothing changed, then he'd go through with the suicide. He later went on to become the father of American psychology, so I'm glad that he stuck things out. That's nice, you may think, but it doesn't make sense. Taking full responsibility for literally everything that happens is patently ridiculous, because you can't control everything. And yeah, that's true, but consider the alternative. I borrowed this one from good old Watsy. If you're f***ed up socially and emotionally, you could easily blame your parents.
He's a fount of misplaced rage. Name your cliche. Mother held him too much or not enough.
But maybe their poor parenting is the result of their parents, which is a result of the bad parenting of their parents, etc., etc., ad infinitum. You eventually get to the point where you're blaming the Big Bang for all of your problems, which is even more ridiculous than taking responsibility for your own life. I do this all the time. Scapegoating feels good. Playing the blame game, playing the victim card, we all do it. And it's our parents' or the government's fault. If we want to get conspiratorial, it's a secret cabal that we all know about of interdimensional, child-killing, Zionist, shape-shifting lizard creatures that are ruining everything. This last one actually borrows generously from the Gnostic myth. The demiurge rears his ugly mug once again. I love me a good conspiracy theory, but the problem with that worldview is that it's ridiculously disempowering. You're opting in to being a pawn in someone else's game, where nothing you do or think really matters. We can do better than that. So I'm willing to take the risk of adopting radical personal responsibility, to see if it'll do what I think it will, which is improve my satisfaction with my own life.
You got the touch. You got the power.
I don't want to do this in a knockdown, drag out, white knuckle, just grit my teeth and get through it kind of way. I want to enjoy the process. There's a saying I like. A game is the voluntary effort to overcome unnecessary obstacles. And that's the way I'm going to approach this. It's a game, and I'm willing to play. This is going to be fun. I'm a lucky guy. I live in a free country. I'm a motherfucking free man. I can choose my own destiny. I don't have to show up for work tomorrow if I don't want to. I don't have to do anything really. Now, I can't control the outcome of my decisions completely. There'll always be consequences, unintended or otherwise. I'm also constrained by what philosophers call facticity. There are physical limitations and necessities like eating and breathing, of course, that I need to worry about. But within these parameters, I'm going to adopt this new attitude of personal empowerment. For 30 days, I'm going to take 100% responsibility for everything that happens in my life and report back about how it went. I think I've been operating suboptimally. So, no more blaming the demiurge or the lizard people or anyone else for my problems. I've come from a great heritage. For eons, our ancestors have navigated the various paradoxes of life with great courage. I'm ready to join their ranks. We're born to die, but we fight to live. This is the human spirit, the willingness to keep going in the face of insurmountable odds. I'm ready. The way of the warrior is resolute acceptance of death.